It was the fastest, whoopingest ride of my life. The driver was a fiddler for a famous California cowboy band. He had a brand new car and he drove 80 miles an hour. "I don't drink when I drive," he said, and he handed me a pint. I took a drink and then offered him one. "Oh, what the hell," he said, and he drank. We made Selma to LA in the amazing time of 4 hours flat, about 250 miles. The valley unreeled before my eyes again. I had vibrated up and down the Hudson Valley, and now I was vibrating up and down the San Joaquin Valley on the other side of the world. It was strange. "Whoopee!" yelled the fiddler. "Say now, looky here. My band leader had to fly to Oklahoma for his father's funeral this morning, and I got to lead the band tonight, and we're on the air for half an hour. You reckon I could get some Benzedrine someplace? I ain't never said a word over the air." I told him to buy an inhaler in any drugstore, and he got drunk. "You reckon you could do the announcing for me? I'll lend you a suit. You seem like you talk a mighty good English. What'd you say?" I was all for it. All the way from rickety Mexican trucks to announcing a radio show in 24 hours, why else should I live? But he forgot about it, and that was all right with me too. I asked him if he ever heard Dizzy Gillespie play trumpet. He slapped his thigh. "That cat is plumb frantic." We dropped off Grapevine Pass. "Sunset Boulevard, ha ha," he howled. He dropped me off right in front of Columbia Pictures Studio in Hollywood. I was just in time to run in and pick up my rejected original. And I bought my bus ticket to New York. The bus was leaving at 10. I had 4 hours to dig Hollywood alone. First, I bought a loaf of bread and salami and made myself 10 sandwiches to cross the country with. I had $1 left. Sat on the low cement wall in the back of a Hollywood parking lot, made the sandwiches using a piece of flat wood I found on the ground and cleaned it to spread the mustard. As I labored at this absurd task, great Klieg lights of a Hollywood premiere stabbed the sky, that humming West Coast sky. All around me were the noises of the crazy Gold Coast city. All this was my Hollywood career. This was my last night in Hollywood, and I was spreading mustard on my lap in back of a parking lot. John. I forgot to mention that I didn't even have enough money for a bus ticket all the way to New York, only Pittsburgh. I figured, worry about that when I got to Pittsburgh. My sandwiches under one arm and a canvas bag in the other, I strolled around Hollywood for a few hours. Whole families that had driven from the country in old jalopies went putt, putt, putt across Sunset and Vine with their eager faces searching everywhere for movie stars. All they saw was other families and other jalopies doing the same thing. They came from Oakey Flats outside of Bakersfield, San Diego, Fresno, and San Bernardino. They read movie magazines. Little boys wanted to see Hopalong Cassidy conducting his great white horse across the traffic, and the little girls wanted to see Lana Turner in a deep embrace with Robert Taylor in front of Whelan's. The mothers wanted to see Walter Pidgeon in top hat and tails bowing at them from the curb, and the fathers, gaunt, crazy, jalopy Americans, scented money in the air. They were ready to sell their daughters to the highest bidder. On the sidewalk, characters swarmed. Everybody was looking at everybody else. It was the end of the continent. No more land. Somebody had tipped the American continent like a pinball machine. And all the goofballs had come rolling to LA in the southwest corner. I cried for all of us. There was no end to the American sadness and the American madness. Someday we'll start laughing and roll on the ground when we realize how funny it's been. Until then, there's a lugubrious seriousness I love in all of this. At dawn, my bus was zooming across the Arizona desert. Indio, Blythe, Salome, where she danced, the great dry stretches leading to Mexican mountains in the south, and then we swung north to the Arizona mountains, Flagstaff, Clifftown. I had a book with me I stole from a Hollywood stall, Le Grand Menu of Alain Fournier, but I preferred reading the American landscape as we went along. Every bump, rise, and stretch in it mystified my longing. The inky night, we crossed New Mexico immersed. At gray dawn, it was Dalhart, Texas. In the bleak Sunday afternoon, we rode through one Oklahoma flat town after another. At nightfall, it was Kansas. The bus roared on. I was going home in October. Everybody goes home in October. In Wichita, I got off the bus to hit the head, and there was a young man in a loud Kansas herringbone suit saying so long to his minister father. A minute later, I saw an eye watching me from a hole in the John booth as I sat. A note was slipped through. I offer you anything on this side if you will put it through. I caught a glimpse of a loud Kansas herringbone suit through the hole. No thanks, I said through the hole. What a sad Sunday night for a Kansas minister's son. What Wichita doldrums. In a small Kansas town, a clerk said to me, ain't nothing to do around here. I looked down the end of the street at infinite spaces beyond the last tumble shack, we arrived in St. Louis at noon. I took a walk down by the Mississippi River and watched the logs that came floating from Montana in the north. Grand, Odysseiac logs of our continental dream. Old steamboats with their scrollwork, more so scrolled and withered by weathers, sat in the mud inhabited by rats. Great clouds of afternoon overtopped the Mississippi Valley. The bus roared through Indiana cornfields that night, and the moon illuminated the ghost-gathered husks. It was almost Halloween. I made the acquaintance of a girl, and we necked all the way to Indianapolis. She was nearsighted. When we got off to eat, I had to lead her by the hand to the lunch counter. She bought my meals. My sandwiches were all gone. In exchange, I told her stories. She was coming from Washington State, where she spent the summer picking apples. Her home was in an upstate New York farm. She invited me to come there. We made a date to meet at a New York hotel anyway. She got off at Columbus, Ohio, and I slept all the way to Pittsburgh.